what is heat training, or why it is important. Because, for example, when we are exercising or we're moving, we're doing HYROX, we're running, 80% or 80 to maybe 75% of the energy we're consuming is going to thermoregulation in the body. That's how insufficient the body is to generate energy to actual power or propulsion or sled push or running. Because when we're burning, let's say 1 gram of carbohydrate, that's 4 calories. So that's 16 kilojoules. And we know that 1 watt is 1 joule per second. So that's how we transfer like the actual energy gel into power on the earth, for example. So 80% of that energy goes to thermoregulations. So if we burn 1 gram of carbohydrate, 14 kilojoules, we have 3.7 kilojoules left for work. So that's why heat training is important. So what you can do with heat training is to essentially learn your body how to handle the heat even more, which is even more important when you're obviously racing in a hot and humid climate. It's not only about the temperature, it's always also about the humidity. It's more of what you call like a heat index. So if you have a high humidity and a high temperature, the heat index will get even higher. But you can also have a quite high temperature with a low humidity, and the heat index or the heat strain is not that high. So it's always consideration. But in HYROX, in regularly, we have both, right? We have a lot of humidity with thousands of athletes, spectators, and we also have quite high temperature. I mean, not high compared to like marathons in the desert, but it's still a good amount of heat index that most of athletes aren't really adapted to training or performing. So what you do with heat training, you can measure your core body temperature, which you can do with a sensor, and then you can more like base your training on different heat zones. So you have different heat stress on your body during different workouts. And then you focus more on like having a certain core body temperature, could be like race temperature if you have measured it. So you try to accumulate training within the heat zone that you want to race in. And then you can obviously learn to be, or you can train your body to become more efficient handling heat and thermoregulation. And then we can have better efficiency, better metabolic efficiency when it comes to training and racing in general, not just in heat, but in general. And we learn also how to evaporate sweat and to work more with the cardiovascular system more effectively. And also, I've been thinking of this a lot because it's very unknown I would say unknown in our community and in our space. It was also very interesting. You see, I mean, the HYROX Berlin is the fastest HYROX in the world, right? Still, I guess. And everybody's talking about, is the course, is it too short, and so on. But I've been quite confident from the beginning. It makes total sense. You know, last year, I reckon it was like, was it 15, 16 degrees there last year?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like the optimal temperature to perform in, you know. So for me, it makes total sense that the times were so rapid there, you know, because take that, you being outside, you have the wind, your body can cool down properly. I'm not surprised that the fastest times were done in Berlin. And also this year, obviously, I'm not sure if the temperature were that low this year, but for me, it's super clear why it goes so fast. Because also the general athlete, they are not used to race in indoor venue with so many athletes, high humidity, usually quite high temperature. So, I mean, yeah, I've been thinking of it a lot, and it's quite interesting. And also, the HYROX world record when Hunter did it in Stockholm was also a cold December morning in Stockholm, the first event of the day before all the age groups or rest of the athletes started, and it was quite cold there. I'm quite certain it was, at least the day before. I wasn't there in the morning. Also makes total sense, because that's how much heat affects our performance. Also, like a good comparison, then I'm going to stop talk about heat, but for marathon runners, also very, very measurable. And when you have like the heat index charts and so on. So let's say for a 3-hour marathon runner, who does a 3-hour marathon in like optimal temperature around 15 degrees, add 15 degrees outside, or let's say the similar amount of heat index strain to the runner, and this will decrease the performance, like in theory, with maybe 7 to 10 seconds. 7 to 10 minutes over the marathon distance, and that's quite big difference. So it's like 2 to 2 to 6% or something. So yeah, that's why heat is so important, and that's why I do it from time to time. But what you need to also remember when you're adding more stress to your system with heat or what it is, so if you're training in a heat suit, or if you come here to train, or go abroad, or you go to Middle East or Dubai or to train, that there's an extra layer of stress to your system. So you cannot count that you can have the same power output for the same heart rate that you have in the UK in the early summer, or in the Nordic countries, because it will decrease your performance quite significantly, and also like the power output. So that you also need to have in mind if you're going to try like heat training, because it definitely stresses your system even more, cardiovascular system.
Okay.
Yes.
I agree with what you're saying about the courses, by the way. I've thought this for a long time, that, you know, I think people get hung up on how many laps there are, and like, oh, Berlin was quick because it was one lap and all these things. But like, the reality is, like, I've seen a lot of venue maps, and you can almost never guess when it's going to be a quick course or not. And I think because the temperature plays such a huge part. And I remember the elite race in Glasgow last season. I was commentating, and I remember before saying, like, it is so cold in here, like we had to go get a top to put on, and like that turned out to be like a really, really quick course for the elites, and they had like 4 laps to do, and there was so many turns and everything like that, and you could have never predicted that it was going to be quick, unless like you were there and you felt the temperature.
No, and everybody's like, you know, why is it so quick? Because yeah, people don't understand it or don't know it is, and I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, for me it's very obvious.